I all right. All right. So Jack Ryan
Shadow
Shadow
Recruit,
Recruit.
the last Jack Ryan, the last until the next one,
Yeah.
the only Chris Pine one.
Yeah.
Adam,
Yeah.
what do you think?
So I had like a magic screening of this back in 2014, I believe. I think it was 2014 or 2015. It was a January release. And I was like burnt out on prestige movies. And then I saw this and I was just like, this just works. This movie cooks. It's an hour and 45 minutes. It gets in, it gets out, it does what it needs to do. There's no pretense of like this being high art or anything like that. And now I kind of wish it had a little bit of pretense of being high art because I feel like this is like a Harrison Ford, Jack Ryan movie played at 1.5 times speed. And it feels everything just kind of feels less cinematic now. And I'm just comparing like kind of how filmmaking was for like adult blockbusters, I guess, from 1994 to like 2014. But it just feels very Jurassic Park 3 to me, which isn't a bad thing, but it feels like the Diet Coke version of Jack Ryan movies.
This is not my franchise. I've realized this as I've watched your videos week after week and watched Jack Ryan. This is only my second time seeing Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit. And I'm just not into the Jack Ryan movies, really, not even the good ones, the Harrison Ford or the Alec Baldwin ones. Because it's so much just like upload the bleep bloop bleep 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 bloop bloop bleep. Okay, we did it. And it's like Mission Impossible is way more my jam because there's a little bit of tech in that movie, but it's especially lately, it's so much more analog, and I just realize I'm much more like sort of an analog lover. Chris Pine is fine. Keira Knightley, it's weird to hear her do an American accent, but I just don't think it's probably my fourth favorite Jack Ryan movie.
I like this one the way people like Patriot Games, where like I think like when we had the Patriot Games discussion, like which I think Patriot Games is a good movie, but I think the style of action filmmaking, or at least the style of espionage filmmaking, or whatever it is, I don't know, for some reason I like the way Brown directs this. It's definitely a little bit it's more red boxy, as you said. Like it's a little bit more I guess modern is the way to put it. I don't really know how you would say it. Less prestige-y, more in your face, but it doesn't have the MTV sheen of Some of All Fears. Like it doesn't feel like you're watching Daredevil with Ben Affleck. You know what I mean? It feels like a little bit more
I wish I was watching Daredevil with Ben Affleck.
This is the first big movie that Brown directs, right? He had done like some Shakespeare stuff, right?
Well, he had Murder on the Orient Express after this, but before, I feel like he directed like some big budget stuff prior to this. I know he did Dead Again, and he did a bunch of the Shakespeare adaptations like Hamlet.
So he does Thor the year before this. I'm sorry, he does Thor in 2011. Then this is the next one in 2014.
I guess I feel about his direction similarly as I feel with his direction in Thor, which is it just feels like director for hire stuff, and it doesn't feel very I guess passionate all that much. I mean, everything about this just feels like a B programmer, which is fine. But I'm such a fan of this cast that I selfishly I wanted it to be better so that there were more entries in the series with Chris Pine as Jack Ryan and Kevin Costner as his mentor and stuff. And I remember in the trailers, they kept alluding to the fact that like Kevin Costner, I think, had like a line where he's like, nothing is as it seems. And it's just like, oh, well, Kevin Costner is going to be like the bad guy.
Yeah.
And then the fact that he's not a bad guy is kind of weird. It like feels like the type of character where he's like Al Pacino in The Recruit, where like something's up, but like nothing ever is up. And I'm not sure how I feel about like Kathy Ryan being this much in the mix. As much as I love Keira Knightley, it's jarring coming off of 4 Jack Ryan movies where she's like wife, nurse who gets interrupted on dates, and now she's like the linchpin of like this giant plot, while, as Patrick said, like Chris Pine is doing beep boop boop.
Yeah, well, she's doing like sexual intrigue with director Kenneth Branagh, which must have been a fun day. Like, all right, so we're gonna flirt today. All right, it's gonna be great. You're really into me. Okay, that's how we're gonna frame this. And
he's like, you think this is game, Kira?
yeah.
He refers to her bitch chin at one point, and I wish that this movie was called Jack Ryan Bitch Chin, because Bitch Chin is a good band name. I was excited when they announced Kenneth Branagh for Thor, because I was like, that makes sense. He's going to bring some of that Shakespearean bullshit to Thor. And then I agree, Adam, he pretty much didn't. And in this movie, he's kind of doing imitation J.J. Abrams, who himself is a little bit of a Diet Coke filmmaker. So it's like watered down Diet Coke.
Patrick, you mentioned earlier, like the analog of like Mission Impossible versus something like this. What is that to you? What is the difference? Like, what is the major difference? What makes, Ghost Protocol work and Shadow Recruit not work as well? Like, what do you think that difference is?
I mean, for me, it's doing stuff versus talking about doing stuff. Like in Shadow Recruit, it's a lot of looking at screens, talking about doing stuff. And in Mission Impossible, it's like, oh, fuck, the technology broke. We got to go climb out on the building now.
Right.
That just is more interesting to me.
I was particularly jarred on this viewing that Kenneth Branagh almost like completely is playing his villain from Tenet.
Yes.
It's the same, like he has a terminal illness, he's taking it out on the world, and it's just like, this came before Tenet, but it's just like maybe Christopher Nolan never saw Jack Ryan's Shadow Recruit, or
this is
he
like,
did, and he's just, it's odd.
It's like when you go to tip someone and they don't see, so you have to do it again so that they see. Nobody saw Jack Ryan's Shadow Recruit, so he's like, I do it again in Tenet.
Yeah. Do we need to start new PowerPoint presentation, or do we just use old one?
He brought Bitch Chin out for Nolan, but Nolan wasn't having it. Nolan was like, no, you know what? I get in trouble with the women thing already. I really shouldn't do it.
There's a couple flourishes in the movie towards the end that I found entertainingly fun. One is out of nowhere. Kenneth Branagh's son, who's like secret villain in this movie, stabs like just some random dude. And there's like a Spike Lee tracking shot of the guy getting stabbed against the wall. And it's just like, well, that's a choice. And then I like that the end of the movie is kind of a callback to earlier Jack Ryan movies where like Jack Ryan and his, mentor are going in to talk to the president. But this time, like for some reason, they close the door like it's the end of The Godfather. Like you just needed Keira Knightley like out in the hallway, just being like the final shot.
All right, so Chris Pine, where do we rank Chris Pine on our Jack Ryan?
Three
for you?
Yeah, I think my Jack Ryan's Ford, and then Baldwin does a lot of stuff that I like. Pine, I like Pine a lot, but this isn't one of my favorite Pine performances. I think he does a functional job as Jack Ryan. I think he could have grown into the character a little bit more. This movie is just kind of in a rush the whole time for me. But I think that he feels more of a focal point and less out of place than Ben Affleck does. Crispy.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't. Affleck is fourth for me. As much as it pains me to say, Affleck is definitely fourth for me too, just because he's just so smarmy. We talked before about him being kind of smarmy, more like a. I think Mark called him like a high school football star. Which is not really fair for this. I think that Pine has a little bit of the sort of incredulity of Baldwin, where he's like a little like he's a hot dude, but he's like. You can tell there's something going on back there that he's thinking carefully. He kind of does that with Kirk too, a little bit around this time, where you can tell he's reckless and he's this and he's that, but he's not like, it's not Affleck where he's cocky in that way that there's nothing behind there's nothing going in there. He seems to have a little bit of energy in there. He seems to have a little bit of integrity. So I think he's a nice halfway point between Baldwin and Ford.
I also think that I'm less interested in, for some reason in the last two movies, they focus on terrorism. Yeah. And in the other ones, it's like submarine thriller, revenge movie, drug cartel, like, coup and things like that. I find all that stuff more interesting because you can kind of mix more of like the office part of it with the action part of it better. Whereas with the terrorism stuff, it's so, I don't know. Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit handles it a lot better than Some of All Fears, because Some of All Fears is just very despairing, I guess, and not fun at all. Where this is the popcorn movie that I wish Some of All Fears was. But I'm just less interested in like international terrorists and like manipulating the stock markets and things like that.
What do we think of Knightley? Do we like her? She had what you mentioned before. She had more to do than other Mrs. Ryans, Dr. Ryans have had.
I love Keira Knightley, so like I'm always happy to see her pop up and stuff. I think it's weird, like as Patrick said, like the American accent thing, it maybe is a little jarring. For me, it's just the fact that she's not doing like a costume drama. It's like anytime I see her in something kind of modern, I'm just like, oh, you can do that too? Like
the American accent is so weird for me because I've been watching that HBO show, The Staircase, and Colin Firth does an American accent. And it doesn't matter because I still only hear him British.
Yeah.
And Keira Knightley is the same way. Like she's doing an American accent, doesn't matter. All I hear is her British accent, which isn't to say she's doing a bad American accent. It's just, it's my own ear playing tricks on me that I still hear her as British. I'm with Adam. I always like seeing her get parts in movies, and I'm glad she's not just playing like dutiful, concerned wife the way Anne Archer was always sort of saddled, but the way that they try to beef up her role also is weird in this movie.
Yeah.
Is she the Shadow Recruit?
She is more than Jack Ryan.
Right.
It's very strange how Jack Ryan kind of like gets catfished into being like a field agent. I think this movie would have been 50% better if Knightley and Pine were like super horny for each other the whole time and not like kind of fighting. Like if it was more of like a True Lies thing, like in the third act where she's like really excited by like, because there's that scene where like he's putting it all together and he's like spinning, you know, the whole narrative and everything, and he's doing it in front of everyone. And I just wanted to see like a couple of reaction shots where she's just like, this magic moment. Like I wanted that. I think it would just give the movie kind of like that Anne Archer quality that I like actually in the earlier movies, where the whole time Anne Archer's just like, I got a man. Stuff like that. And I just kind of like that. I don't know.
What about, well, we have to talk about your boy Costner, Adam. What'd you think about him in a Jack Ryan movie?
I mean, I was on a Costner high the day that I would, which is every day, but like I was on a Costner high when I watched it last night because I had just listened to the Blank Check on For Love of the Game. And like the peek behind the curtain of like Kevin Costner on set was just so great. So I just imagined him in this movie just being like, let's punch up this scene. Like, let's do this, let's do that, let's get into it. I think he's such a natural mentor type of actor. Like, and he's benching in this one, just like he does in Molly's Game. He's a great bench actor.
Great bench actor.
You if you see him sitting on a bench, you sit down next to him, you find out what's up. Yeah. You're gonna get some good nuggets.
Why did Costner never play Jack Ryan?
He was in the running for it. I think he turned it down because he was making Dances with Wolves.
He seems like a natural choice.
He does, yeah. He because he has that like braininess, action quality to him also, but also like the stubbornness where it's like, I know I'm right and I can like argue this in a room.
Yeah.
I think with Chris Pine, for me, I like him when he plays it kind of straight like this, but I feel like he's doing it something with one arm tied behind his back because he can be so quirky as an actor and like really kind of fun and like kind of just I don't know, this is gonna sound so stupid, but he kind of like when he's playing Kirk, he can be kind of like a naughty guy, or like he's playing like the love interest in Princess Diaries. He's so naughty. But like in Jack Ryan, I know there's a better word than naughty that I could have come up with, but like, yeah.
That's the one.
I want my naughty pie. Even though this isn't your franchise, how would you rank them 1 through 5, Patrick? And then Rob, you go next.
Having only seen, so I've only seen Hunt for Red October, Some of All Fears, and Clear and Present Danger once each, and this and Patriot Games twice each because you and I did that thing for 92, and then this for reserve seating. So, all right, I'm gonna go Hunt for Red October, Clear and Present Danger, Patriot Games, Shadow Recruit, Some of All Fears.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Hunt for Red October,
Shadow Recruit.
Shadow Recruit,
There you go.
Games, Clear and Present Danger, Sum of All Fears.
I'm gonna go Hunt for Red October, Patriot Games, Clear and Present Danger, Shadow Recruit, Sum of All Fears.
Adam, what are we doing next week now that the Jack Ryan series is over?
I'm taking a week off, but after that, we're coming back and we're gonna do a ticket stub movie game where Rob is gonna bring out some of his old movie ticket stubs, and we will use that as openers, like at speed dating. On conversation topics.
Adam and I are gonna do some Zoom speed dating, and you're gonna watch.
Yeah.
Which frankly is something that I've heard frequent requests for anyway, so it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be great. All right, one last Harrison Ford finger. Until next time.
These seats are reserved for democracy
In America.
and America.